It's frustrating at the time, but it's cool as hell to reflect back.
Oh, so much fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so much fun. Rob, you're here again.
Yeah.
Another afternoon of talking.
Yeah.
We've already done, I think, like 2 podcasts since you've been here.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, I'm sorry, man.
Thanks for joining us. I could talk all day about hunting and
this is my passion project. The big buck and all that stuff and the long range shooting, that's almost like just necessary evils, almost to a point. Tracking with dogs.
So yeah, we're going to talk. Is it wounded deer?
Yes.
That you wounded deer?
Wounded or expired deer,
okay.
or bear or moose. Deer are the speciality of it all, but bear and moose are almost like byproducts.
Okay.
If in my experience, so this is the cool thing with dog tracking is it's relatively new compared to everywhere else in the world. In America,
yeah,
it's really like it was 2000 when it actually became legal in Maine. Dad,
it's been that long?
Yes, which surprised me as well, because I don't remember growing up ever hearing about, I graduated in 2004, but there was nobody around. I say nobody, I'm sure there was, somebody, but didn't hear about, if you call a dog tracker, call a blood tracker. The whole concept would have sounded weird to me. Like, I don't want dogs chasing deer around or stuff like that. That's off-putting. But it was 2010. Dad used to go to Texas every year at Christmas and hunt hogs and maybe some whitetail out there. And he came back in like 2009 or 2010, and his whole focus was they had blue lacies, which are really common in Texas. That's their hound. And of course, Texas is a non-leash state as well. It's like one of the only states that you can track wounded animals with dogs off leash. So they rely a lot on Garmin's, and the dogs will actually chase and bay wounded animals or whatnot. And he saw all this happening and came back and said, we need this up here, especially black bear. Black bear, I mean, you hunt them over bait stands right in the condensed woods. They almost, a lot of it's archery. So they're going to run and expire somewhere, and they'll run to the thickest, most dense cover in the world. So that was his first thought process. So he bought from that farm or that outfitter that he stayed at a blue lacy. They shipped it up here to Maine. And that dog, that was incredible. That was one of the most aggressive torpedo high prey drive. It was like it was very aggressive.
So that was 2010.
2010.
Okay.
Yep. When he got that dog, and he became a guide, and part of the guide's course, I don't even know I think it's just included in it is a section for leash dog handling, so that, if you're guiding somebody and they wound their game, you can track it down.
Okay.
So he started doing that, and it was unbelievable. Every year it was more of him turning calls down. Just for it was every single night.
I live in the same town and had no idea that.
I didn't. That was my first exposure, was with him then, and I started helping him just out of necessity. He was getting, I think he said he averaged. He tried to look back. I asked him just for the sake of these conversations, like how much it was, and he said he averaged, as far as retrievals, 20 bear, 20 moose, or 20 bear, 20 whitetail, and 10 moose. That was almost every year was consistently right around 50 calls that he was actually attending. And he said he was turning down, 100 every night. People were calling once word got out, and word of mouth with that kind of thing. And it had a really good success rate with that dog.
So I guess just to set the scenario, it's a hunter that wounds or shoots an animal, can't find it.
Yes.
And so they can contact, at that point in time, is your father.
Yes.
To
come in
to retrieve
and
it,
and usually find where they found last blood. A lot of the one of the most important aspects of it is that conversation after the shot. That's the whole thing I try to get out to hunters. Dad tried to, and for example, when a hunter knew that if the shot didn't go as planned, if it wasn't like a dead right on the spot, or if there was any kind of running, they knew they had a tracker, a blood tracker that they could call. They would just back out, give him a call, and it would usually be a 20-minute track.
Okay.
Most of us do. I'm guilty of this. Last year, I shared with you my scenario with my son. I spent almost 20 hours out tracking, trying to find this deer, not, being able to find it. It's
such a helpless feeling.
It is. That was the last time I'm ever going to deal with it, because the whole time all I was thinking is this was a liver shot. If I had a dog, if there was a dog here, and I tried calling out, and everybody was backed up. There was only 3, I believe, other people listed on the IFW for blood tracking in Aroostook County. Then 2 of them are a couple in Parham, a pair of guides. They got some labs they do work with, but 3 people for the whole County, Aroostook County's not enough.
And
so
if a hunter hunts long enough, it's going to happen.
absolutely,
Whether even if it's a good shot.
absolutely.
There's, especially you think of like big woods, there's 1,000,001 places for an animal to go.
Yeah. And you can have, so last year it was so heartbreaking. It was my 12-year-old and I let him choose everything. It was the first year that we just took Onyx, showed him a couple fields where we've seen deer activity. He picked the field. We kind of talked about the wind direction. He picked the spot we sit. Wouldn't have been my, style. We literally crawled through dogwood and brush, set up a tripod, I mean, it was, as far as hunts of my life, it was one of my most memorable because ironically, with him choosing all this setup, a doe come in, a beautiful, lonely doe, 50 yards away. I mean, it just provided all the right circumstances. We were able to have a conversation or at least talk a little bit before the shot. The shot looked beautiful. You saw the spray come out the opposite side. She ran off into the woods. I was already congratulating him. Big error right there on my behalf. I said, well, that incredible hunt, incredible job, man. This. And he was just vibrating. And we couldn't find it till dark. I said, let's just back out. We'll come back in the morning. And my wife and I tracked probably from 7 till 3 or 4, following a blood trail, and after 2 hours, I said, if we had a dog. I've been here and done this with the dogs before. If we had a dog, we'd already be home with this doe buttoned up, because you get, that's the other aspect of like the recovery times in the shots. A lot of guys will make a shot on an animal and it'll run off. A good blood tracker will be able to tell you, they usually get mad at all the questions. That's one of the big parts of it. 'Cause
you're playing an investigator.
It is. And a lot of people, you're in that, they call you, and all you can hear is breathing and crunching leaves. It's like, stop what you're doing. How far away were you? What did you use when you shoot it? Bear season broadheads. Broadheads are one of the biggest indicators. If you actually get a picture of an untouched broadhead that's like stuck into the ground, you look at the blood, you look at the fletching, you can kind of tell where was that animal truly hit. Sometimes high angles can play into effect. Where was the animal facing? What did it do when you shot it? Was it tail up, tail down? Did it jump and kick, or did it buckle and just hit the ground? Yeah. Like, you know what I mean? So you got to be prepared to answer all those questions so a tracker can formulate a best time to come back and track. Yeah. Because, for example, an experienced tracker will know like a gut shot is a dead deer. It may not be in the next 12 hours, but it will be a dead deer eventually. And that's where the conservation part of this really comes in, is an experienced tracker can tell you, okay, gut shot, that's no big deal, but we're going to wait 16 hours. It's different everywhere else in the world. Is it a coyote dense area? What's the weather like? What's the humidity like? How long is that scent going to be retained? But as a tracker, I want to push it until the very end, till that deer is expired. And that's, the time you want to go. So having that kind of communication with hunters beforehand and having hunters know about that. I mean, what do most people do if you shoot a deer and you wound it and you don't find it? There's not a lot of us, who I don't hang up my gun and go, oh, well, shucks, gee williker, that was my chance. I'm done. No, you go out and shoot another deer.
Keep hunting. Yeah.
If you can help anyway with recovering every one that's shot, it's in its own way, a reward.
Yeah. You hit a lot of good points there about all the different factors to consider. Like there's so much information that, especially in the heat of the moment, you can just get so excited that you lose track of where you were standing when you shot, where all the little minutia.
Yep.
People get agitated.
Yes. Well, and it's understandable, in that situation.
Well, like questions, man.
Well, most of them are, people got to work the next day. People have families. People have timelines oftentimes. Absolutely. It's, I want you here now and I need you to come track it all. Well, I can come and I can show up now, but depending on the mortality of the shot, all we're going to do is drive that deer. And in the state of Maine, it's illegal to bay and hold deer with dogs or whatnot. So you kind of got to, if you find a wounded one, you can assist with its expiration, but you can't use the dog.
Well, I wanted to get into, before we get into more of the dog stuff, the legal framework.
Yeah.
Behind it. So you said it became legal in
2000 in Maine. Yeah, there's still a few states that don't allow it, but Maine became legal for leash tracking in 2000.
So they have to stay on a leash?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep, they have to be leashed. You have to get a permit. You have to go down to the IFW and take a handwritten test. It's like an $80 permit that's good for 3 years for leash dog tracking. It's a section out of the guides test. I've never even pretended to be qualified to be a guide. So for me, that was pretty daunting as far as some of the the questions with that. But yeah, you get your test, you're good for 3 years. And then you're listed on the IFW website. You pick the zones that you're available to track with and your phone number.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Like what legal parameters as far as like hours you can do it? Like Sunday,
so that
nighttime.
So like pending pre-2000, I'm sure there was lots of people who had dogs. I mean, most people have a dog, and almost any dog will track dead things if you shoot a deer, and you can let it out at it. This specifically allows you to hunt in between those legal hours. So dark, you can have illumination, and you can be out all hours of the night, essentially, doing active tracking, and then assist with if the animal's still alive. It's like 1 in every 3 you find, depending on the timeline, is still alive to some scenario. So
what's the deal if the animal's still alive? Can you dispatch it? Or?
Yes. Yeah.
Even nighttime?
Yes. Yep. Yep. You have that dialogue with the hunter. I'm sure there's a lot of leashed guides that are a lot more open or liberal about it. I'm pretty strict with I don't want anybody shooting guns behind me, or I don't want them carrying a loaded gun behind me or shooting over my dog or anything like that.
Blow your eardrums out.
Yeah. Yeah. No.
So what you established your background with it a little bit. So you had to take a test.
Yep.
Tough.
For me. Well, let's clause that, Paul. For me.
Yeah,
for me it was tough. But no, pass that test. My biggest background, because it's too funny. It's almost when my father was doing it and he just needed a strong arm. I like that, instead of Toby, a strong arm. Yeah. I'd go with him and help with that. And the involuntary exposure I got from doing that, just because of the sheer amount of calls he was getting. Really? And also with the nature of that dog at the time too, you really had to have a handler with him the whole time. But yeah, a lot of moose, a lot of bear, a lot of deer, a lot of lugging, a lot of tagging. Yeah.
So how is it going through the Maine woods with a leash on I've got a lab.
Yep.
Right. We do some bird hunting with her and stuff like that.
Yep.
And I can't imagine walking through the woods with a leash on I'd be
it's
wrapped around.
I'm sure people do it differently, but I use a harness, so it's only attached to the back, and I want him to have. That's the distinction. When he goes into tracking mode, I remove the collar and put a harness on, just like with his training. Okay. So he knows at that moment it's work time. And then it's like a 50-foot polyurethane lead. So it's really slippery and really limber with no closed loop at the end, so that if, for example, he's winding and tightening around things, I can kind of circumvent and just grab a hold of the lead behind him. Okay. So yeah, it's a little artwork with that as the first few times you do it. Yeah. You're tangled up a lot, a lot. Yeah. It's like a half horse wrangling at first between the lead line. But
so what do you use for a dog to do this?
Rhodesian Ridgeback. First one we, Dad used, and no, we involved, he's had 2 blue lacies. Yep. They were both, he still has one, very, very apt to tracking. I had an Alaskan Malamute after that I tried to train for it, and that's when I really got introduced to the hard reality that every dog's different. I don't think it's very much breed specific. I think there's guys doing it with Dachshunds and whatnot very successfully, but dogs' personalities, it kind of requires a rather unique personality set to do that and do it well, because you need them to have the drive to find the blood, stay on the track, and almost like have a cadaver sense to find the expired or expiring animal, but you need them completely docile towards living things. So you don't want them to see a bear track or a moose track or maybe another live deer that was in that group and think, oh, I want to go drive that. Right. You want their only focus on expired things. So it's a little touchy with that.
So is that something you can figure out when you're picking out a dog as a pup, or is it something that you're just like,
no, you really can't. So that's where I don't think anything is specific to breed. I think all dog breeds can do it, but I think you'll have certain breeds that will maybe have a better percentage. Like obviously if you have a bloodhound, there's a very good chance 9 or maybe 10 out of 10 of those bloodhounds will have an aptitude for that style of tracking. Whereas if you were to take, say, a husky, well, maybe, only 3 out of 10. Again, spitballing numbers out there, but I think there's more of that than it's breed specific. So you can kind of pick a breed based on, there's still a lot of that, what they're bred for, what they were made for. I do think it comes into effect, but any hound I've seen Labradors do it extremely well.
Yeah. Now I've got tons of questions. It's something I'm pretty ignorant on. I'll try not to.
I'm a nerd,
bombard you with questions. But,
yeah.
So, because watching dogs work has become fascinating for me. Like we've got a lab, and it's a family pet.
Yeah.
But to watch her, we do some bird hunting.
Yeah.
And it just amazes me, even around the yard. And she's a super chill dog. But like, for the instance, a few more, maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago, there were some deer up here on the upper lawn. And, they went on their merry way or whatever, and brought her outside like 2 hours later. She didn't hit that lawn like a second, and her nose up in the air, and she was right up on that upper lawn, right where those deer walked.
Yeah.
Just investigating.
Yep.
And I'm just like, she could freaking smell that. Like,
it's incredible how almost all dogs have that
so
natural.
what are they going by for scent? Is it like to differentiate, say you get a wounded deer?
Mm-hmm.
Is it just blood? Is it?
Absolutely not. So that's kind of like a weird misconception. It's almost too bad it's called blood tracking with deer specifically. Like, my dog for this year, this is going to be his first year, so there's always different clauses with it. For his last 2 months, all I'm using is feet. So I have a pair of boots that go over my boots to cover my scent to the best possible.
Yeah.
And then it straps on a pair of deer feet to the bottom. And all deer have an interdigital gland, which is unique to every deer. So deer will have different scents among themselves just from that interdigital gland. So like this point in his training, when do most hunters call a blood tracker? I mean, they're in a non-perfect world, when they can't find any more blood, when they've grid searched and they've looked and they've run out of blood and they think, now I'll call in a tracking dog. Yep. So with like him specifically with his training, it's just those boots. So I want him just to follow that specific scent of that specific deer.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when you go out, is there some way to communicate? Like, this is the deer that we need to be on, or that dog just figures out this is where he wants me to go. So I'm going to ignore everything else.
No, we find, so whatever the last hit or the last spot, you typically want to have some form of indicating spot, whether in a hunt, it'd be the hunter where, the shot where he spot, or the shot of last blood or something along those lines. But you find that spot and then you give your action command or whatnot, whether it be seek, hunt, find, or whatnot. Yep. And that will initiate the dog, will hit the nose, will hit the ground, and whatever that first scent he takes in, they won't stop until.
Any more insight into the training that you do with?
Yeah. So you got to start them really young. I mean, you can introduce an older dog. For him, it was 9 weeks when I started. Of course, you can teach a dog at any age to do this, but this is his work. This is his purpose or whatnot. So at like 9 weeks, I'd start with a liver drag. So I kept the liver from the previous year. Cause that's, as far as scent goes, one of the most distinct, sweet smelling parts of a deer. So I'll take the liver drag and just do some straight lines for a couple weeks with that. So he gets the knack for start, the action word, the reward at the end, gets to chew on the liver a little bit. Then you progress to a bumper with I progress to a bumper with a little piece of deer hide, just zip tied to it. So then he's actually chasing that scent through, a little more subtle than the liver, obviously, and not living a streak of scent everywhere. Drag the bumper through the air to try to simulate it rubbing against brush and stuff like that, and then finally progress to just the shoes, maybe a little bit of blood for a starting point and maybe a little bit at the end, to help with air scenting, but trying to keep his nose on the ground. Yep.
So what's recovery look like with the dog?
Big reward. The most important thing for the dog is that it is the best experience of his life. You have to sell it. So for him, for this dog, he's got a real affinity for deer, actually. So I just take some of the deer thawed out before a track and keep it in my pouch. And when he recovers, he knows that's his big. So he's at the point now where he even finds like the bumper or a frozen deer leg or something there for the reward. He just turns to look to me because he wants those steaks.
I want my treat.
So, yep.
So no, any issues with, say, that dog chasing deer around the house, like just randomly?
So I do everything with the training possible to expose him to as many deer as I can find, to as many people as I can find, as many stimuli. You wouldn't think so, but for a tracking dog, I have never exposed a dog so much to everything because I want nothing to be stimulating to him as much as tracking those scent tracks. So we'll purposely go find deer or see deer sitting somewhere, and I'll make him sit and stay and just try to distract him from that repeatedly until that's no longer an arousal for him. For a deer, he could, in a perfect world, live deer would mean absolutely nothing to him. It would be the dead ones that he's focused in. Which
are they? So the dog that you have, Good family dog?
Incredible.
Is it really?
Incredible. Yeah, that's
hyper or
no. Well, he's a 7-month-old Rhodesian Ridgeback, so just a big hound. If you were to think, you think of like
still in the puppy phase.
Yes, he's still coming out of that, but the better, in my opinion, for what I do, the better he is with family, the better he is with people. I bring him to all baseball games, the better he is. But selfishly, yes, it makes him great around the house, but it also, again, when he's on the track, I want that to be his only stimuli, his biggest drive, his biggest reward. I don't want the people, the other hunters, because obviously you got to run into new hunters. They may have dogs with them. They may have kids with them. Who knows what sense they're bringing to the table. I want to overexpose him as much as possible so that they just don't stimulate him.
Yeah, different excitement.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
But ironically, that's one of the unique things with a blood tracking dog. A lot of people hear that and you would think wild teeth gnashing, chasing animals around, and it couldn't be farther from the truth. It's almost borderline for me anyways.
Hyperactive, like
no, for when he's on the scent is when I encourage all of that. That's when he knows the collar's off, the harness is on, he can go crazy. He's the boss, he's in charge, he's in command, and I'm just reading his signals, trying to see, you can see if you spend enough time tracking him. It's like 16 hours a week of training. You get to see when they get, part of it is seeing what they do when they get lost. So set up a perfect scent box or set up a trail. And then, like, for instance, his most recent tracks, they're like 980 yards. And at 2 points, I'll walk in and make a couple circles and drag the hide around in a circle to try to represent a bed down area. Maybe put a whole ounce of blood right there and then simulate that the deer got jumped. So then make bigger steps and strides, not drop any blood until 100 meters away or something like that. And then start just trying really hard to simulate like the worst case scenarios.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are there situations where you couldn't use a dog? Heavy rains, snow issues, any environmental factors that can affect? Like, this isn't going to work out.
It would have to be a torrential downpour, a weird thing. Well, you think about your dog comes inside when it's wet.
Yeah.
Smell like, so a little rain or a little moisture, that's awesome. It almost seems like they track better. I don't know the science behind it. I don't know if it's trapping that scent down. Well, and to some degree, moisture does activate bacteria in scent or whatnot. So a little bit isn't bad. Snow is almost seemingly cheating. So I got him February 10th. And so I was a little nervous about his first training. A, he's a short-haired dog, and B, he's doing a lot of stuff in the snow. It was almost too, so it was a weird speed bump with the training. I didn't experience, Dad didn't experience with his previous dogs, is that the snow was almost too easy. Like I couldn't, and you don't want to make it so difficult that they fail, because then that's what I mean? They don't have a favorable experience with the whole thing. You want every time they do this
positive reinforcement.
Absolutely. But I couldn't believe it, taking them out. I was just getting in the woods after some cold mornings where it was real crusted over. Yeah. You can almost walk on top and he would just, it would take me 25 minutes to lay a track, and it would take him 3 minutes at 3 months old he would just run right to it. So that's a big advantage. Okay. I mean, you're a snow tracker yourself. So you agree. Yeah.
Yeah. So even people can do it when there's snow. It's a no-brainer.
Yep.
Yeah. Watching our dog, like I said, just bird hunting has been very fascinating.
That's incredible.
Like, it's not something I do a lot of, but I just think of different birds that she's found that you're just like, we shot one. It was probably like 10, 12 feet up in a tree. I could see it. So she takes off, goes in the woods. And it's like instantaneously, she goes to right where that bird had flew up out of. And then you see she loses a scent. And then all of a sudden she's walking around and her nose is up in the air.
Yeah.
And she's directly under it. She can't see it. And she's just kind of walking in a circle. And I'm like, man, freaking
she knows
animals
it's there.
Are it's absurd.
Yeah.
On how they can smell that. So you say a heavy downpour could be.
So you get something crazy to just wash away scent or whatnot. But I've, in my experience, I've never seen that. Most trackers, throughout the rain will be more than willing to go out, because it doesn't seem to bother it much.
Really?
No,
is there a time limit? Like say, like it's too many days out, can't do it now.
That's unique to every dog. They give that, I think a cold nose is the terminology they give that. And that's where breeding comes into specific. Like a bloodhound will have the coldest nose. A basset hound or a beagle will have a slightly less colder nose, and you can get breed specific. And that does determine like your hour window. I've never tracked anything outside of 24 hours. And in 24 hours, it still was no problem at all. Like as far as that goes, there's nothing wrong with pushing the boundary further. But again, to maintain a really high performance tracking dog, you kind of want to always make sure they're set up for success. It goes back to that first call. It goes back. Yeah. You really want to make sure that you're set up for success. But no, they'll track through water. They'll track through streams. It's pretty impressive.
Jeez.
Yeah.
So you've got how many dogs? One dog right now?
One dog.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
Now you're talking about conditions, and I think, land would be a big play in your approach to it. Because I look like around here, we got Canada, just from my house.
Yep.
Like 100 yards, less than 100 yards. And that's one thing that's always, I've had an interest in bow hunting, but I've been very hesitant to bow hunt here. Because like even a perfect shot.
Yes.
That deer is a couple bounds from Canada.
That's very valid concern. Yeah.
So if someone, say in town, wounds a deer or doesn't think they got them as good as they should have, would you push the timing envelope a little more?
All depends on the shot. 100%. So that's, I would, in those scenarios where you get borders or you get towns, or even if you get adjacent land, you may not have permit. Yeah, exactly. And you may not be able to access the owner or get permission for that track. That's when you really want the hunters just to step back and kind of follow their tracker's advice, or have a discussion anyways about the expiration time. Let's be as realistic as possible about the shot and what we think really happened. The worst thing you could do is bump it even further. Where there's also the scenario, if you find a deer in that state, if you're tracking it appropriately, you can, finish it right then and there before it bounds off or takes off. It's kind of been, I looked into the drone recovery. I know that some people have had some luck using drones for recovery on a thermal on a drone. And it's like everything else you talk about a lot, Paul. Maine's different. Maine is totally different. And we have, everything is over cover, and we have borders. And say if you fly a drone over a zone and you see, what do you do next?
Yeah.
You don't know the state of that deer. You don't know if you could go up on it, but you could bump it and drive it or whatnot. I still think for Maine specifically, dogs are the way to go.
Because it's a great point, because there's so many different, there's so many different types of hunting opportunity. Whether you go to the big woods, you're never really bound by, the animal's not going to go to a place that you can't go.
Right.
It's pretty well. So that's not, constraining you. Whereas as like around here, you might have a 15-acre parcel you're hunting.
Yep.
And you can't go anywhere else.
Yep.
And that changes the whole dynamic of trying to recover.
Absolutely. And that's where I keep reemphasizing to people that if you have any reservations, anything about that shot, call, because I will never, and any trackers I've spoke won't charge to just call and talk to you and have a conversation. Sometimes that's the best way to go about it, other than set yourselves up for failure, find out, where, again, those important details. What's the blood look like? Was there an exit? What did you use? How far was the range? Those details are gold.
What does a dog tracker charge, or a deer track?
All variable. So like the lady and gentleman who have the guide set up in Parham, I think they have some prices listed online. I think my father charged $100 to show up, and then another $100 if he found a retrieval. As far as prices go, he was pretty cheap as far as it. For me, for example, this year, I haven't even really got to that discussion yet, because he's a first-year dog.
Okay.
Anybody, that's a conversation I would have to mention them. Hey, we've done his training. There's a certification you can get, UBT, United Blood Trackers, and it's the only place in America really that has a standardized testing procedure that they give you. There's 3 different stages of completion to give you some kind of certification to prove that your dog is qualified to do. It'll have this much blood for this much time. You need to make sure that the track you lay ages at least 8 hours. Okay. And at least you can have that kind of certification to say, okay, this dog is certified, but at the same time, he's a first-year dog. So I would probably, unless it was driving, down below Holton or something like that, say I'll show up for free. And because it's his first year, upon a successful track, we can discuss then maybe about, a tip or a payment. But as a as a first-year dog, I would never go out spouting off big numbers first, and you want the proof to be in the pudding.
So
first.
Are you going to have set up a website or anything, or have some sort of way to?
I need to.
The IFNW has
the IFW has a contact. So if you Google blood tracker in Maine or deer retrieval in Maine, the IFW will pop up, and that website, the UBT, United
So
Blood
they'll find
Trackers.
Rob Kilcollins.
Yep, Robert Kilcollins and my phone number, and they can feel free to call anytime. I've got to, my wife is much more computer savvy than me. I got to establish some form of social media. I have none at the moment. So
Hey, there's nothing wrong with that. I got a love-hate relationship with
for these kind of deals, though, it is like very beneficial just to people, in the heat of the moment to be able to call and reach out, because it's one of those things where I want people to be able to, even if it's not me, contact somebody first, get those important details down, and then go from there.
Because every experienced hunter, I think of the years sitting at deer camp, the conversations of numerous hunts of, sometimes deer get wounded. It doesn't work out the way you thought. Deer that are shot excellently, Maine can have some wicked thick cover. They can go into a spot. It was 50 yards away, and you're like, where the heck did this thing go?
2011 or 2012, I went with my father. Medore Farms had a moose permit, an out-of-stater, and he shot a beautiful bull moose less than 40 yards away with a 300 WSM twice. Appropriate hunting ammunition, appropriate everything. That moose hightailed. My father and I and his dog tracked that moose almost 300 yards through Paul. It was just that moose seemed to turn into a bulldozer when they are wounded. They don't seem to they die like they live. They don't care. They seem to just steamroll right through. So it's not bear and moose. I've found to be a lot easier to track than deer. Yeah, deer definitely the pinnacle, the most clever. It's almost like they I think of just with predation with coyotes.
Okay.
I think they know. I think like this is just something instinctive with them or whatnot, that they do just everything.
Putting miles on.
Really clever stuff. Doubling back.
Yeah. They've been chased a lot.
Yep. Gut shot. Every whitetail that was gut shot that I tracked with a dog. This is so I didn't know this beforehand. I would chalk up a gut shot deer as like, oh, it's just lost. It's a gut shot. It's not much you can do or whatnot. Every single one that a dog was put on, in my experience, was recovered, and almost every one of them were recovered in water, whether it be a stream, whether it be a mud pot. I don't know why or what.
One theory behind that is especially if there's a lot of blood loss. Mm-hmm. You go to water, they're trying to recover fluid loss.
Yeah.
So a lot of wounded animals. Yeah, go right to a water supply.
Yep, and I've seen like Dad's first dog specifically find a deer submerged, like there's just a hoof sticking out of a stream, and the dog would find it.
The one I shot this year, that was just what he did. It actually went further than I thought it was gonna. I was pretty confident on the shot, and I actually, because of the way the conditions were, it was 10:30 in the morning. I had all day, and tracking snow that wasn't going anywhere. Lots of blood, and I'm like, he's done. I'm gonna give him some time.
Smart.
Go out and get Dad, because I was at a long ways away. I was like, I'll get the truck closer where the deer's headed.
Yeah, thinking of that drag,
and go get my sled to haul it out. Yep. And deer ended up going about a mile, and it was still alive. But I had
a mile.
Yeah.
Holy
I
smokes.
had to shoot it one more time. And, but he went right down to a brook, bedded right down in the middle of it.
Yeah.
And there was bed. Yep. I'm like, God, we got to be getting close here. And then, he was bedded down, and he'd given up the ghost. Yeah. And, we were in the afternoon, and I finished him off there. Coming up, you got him. But he had a great big hole in the side of him. But went right to water. Yep. Right down in the brook. But tough animal. Yep. And
they're clever. Bear, the bear, that was, again, you got tree stands, we got bear baiting up here. It's not uncommon it's actually most common for the bear to skedaddle in the woods a little bit. Yeah. And they seem to leave a very, very, they stink ultimately. And so anytime I've seen a dog on a bear, it's almost like a train track. The only time that I've seen with bear it can get difficult is if you get into, you get 30 minutes into the track. I don't know if bear give off a unique scent as far as deer do, but I've seen dogs distracted by if there's multiple bear trails and bear tracks going all over the place. Really? Yeah. Whereas deer, they'll lock right into that one deer, and it's you almost can't pry them off.
That's amazing.
Yep.
Yeah, that's so cool.
Yep.
So we talk about like even a good shot. I was thinking when you were coming over, I was thinking of all the stories I'd heard at camp and stuff. And Maine's woods being as thick as they are, I can think of, and where talking to a hunter is so valuable and someone who can remember things in detail.
Invaluable. It really is.
Yeah. I can remember Zach. He'd shot it. Excellent marksman. He's one of these guys that could shoot offhand, like incredible.
Yeah.
And he'd shot a deer, and I can remember he was adamant. He was coming down it was an old road that he was a long ways down this old road that you couldn't drive down. It was blocked off, all grown in. And he comes over a knoll and he sees like 2 or 3 deer way down. It was like a couple 100 yards away. And he thought they were, couldn't see antlers, and thought it was a doe and 2 fawns or whatever. And he's like, I kind of see one chasing the other one around. And he pulls up. It was a spike horn, small buck. He shoots. And so he's offhand, a couple 100 yards away. He was adamant. He's like, I think he ended up coming to get Dad. He was looking for all he was worth. He's like, I made a good shot on that deer.
Yep.
He goes, I know I did. And I think even Dad was starting like, geez, I don't know, Zach, that's a long shot. Like, are you sure? And he's like, no, I am 100%. And I'm not sure if Dad fully believed. And there was some regen off to the side where the deer ran into. So it was all jack furs.
Yeah.
And you could you couldn't see the ground. And that lucky son of a gun, that's a dog, he made a heck of a shot on the deer.
Yep.
Deer's dead. He was basically grid searching.
Yep.
Stepped on the deer. That's how he found it.
Stepped on the deer.
And he never gave up. And he was like, he kept telling Dad,
it's incredible that he recovered it. And that is awesome.
It was just,
but for every one of those stories, there's 20 of somebody that exact same scenario, and they don't step on the deer, or they don't find it. And that's the one where a dog would just, again, hypothetically, but a dog would just, if there's a dead one right there, it's going to go right to it. And you're going to, 5 minutes.
That probably would have taken a dog 30 seconds to find.
Yeah.
Because the deer wasn't far.
Especially when in Maine, you lose the ground. And then, and again, in Maine, the thick overgrowth and the thick brush that's still going on. And especially October, you got bow hunting in October, you got bear hunting in September, and then you got the hunting in November. It's so diverse.
If you ever had a buddy that was a bow hunter, he'd wounded a deer. If you've ever tried to follow a blood trail in October, how many leaves on the ground look like they have blood on them?
Every one.
Oh my God.
Every one.
The first time I ever did it, I was just like, wow, this is.
The first time I used Dad's tracking dog was Washburn bow hunting. I shot a doe in the rump with it was like a 40-yard shot. It's one of those deals I've replayed it 1,000 times in my life. You could target shoot and everything was perfect. Again, a lot of lessons learned.
Stuff happens though.
I hit her in the rump, and I felt one of the worst feelings I ever had regarding hunting. It was the worst. And I called Dad, and it amazed me how after I think like 6 hours, no blood. Yeah. Again, I had a trail cam. All the evidence showed that this was not going to be a lethal shot. No arteries. We still wanted to do our due diligence with it, but for 6 hours, that dog tracked that deer on the trail with that deer. We would go 100 meters between little specks of blood, and we would just leave little orange flags just to indicate. But our archery, your tracking dogs are an archer's best friend. I
remember we'd find a spot of blood. And then, man, I don't know how many leaves I looked at. Looked like they had.
They're red. Yeah.
I was like 18, 19.
Well, they're red or they even start turning. They're green and they literally start turning from a little splotch and growing. It looks like blood. Like you almost have to pick it up, and then there's dew. Everything's wet as well. So you'll touch it and be like, yeah, that's wet.
Yeah.
You have to actually,
Yeah. Yeah, like the buck I shot last fall, he had a hole in the side of him. You can put your fist in. I could see the organs coming out and he pretty much had dried up as far as blood was concerned. The end of it. Every now and then he'd irritate dragging himself over a blowdown.
That's right. You get to see that a lot in the snow. It alarms most people. It's not as much as you think. It's not, gushing blood all over the place. And a lot of the times they'll clot up, even with a rifle shot. And that's
felt bad. You get up to the animal, you kind of feel bad. It's like a softball hole size, hole the size of a softball.
Yeah.
Right in the side of him.
Yeah. And it's thinking, how did you do this?
And it's like, how are you not bleeding more?
Yep.
Crazy.
But that's why the thing with it's like it's ironic they call it blood tracking. Most of it now, any of these dogs doing it now that are well trained for it, you get them on the feet. For that,
Right.
A, blood dries up. That's when you call the hunter. B, that's where that completely unique scent for each deer comes from. So I try every month like to swap up the feet. I try to get a hold of all the towns, PDs and everything, get roadkill.
So you said
deer.
you do like 16 hours a week?
Yep,
with your
so
dog?
that's
Really?
the average. Yeah, try to ramp it up now that we're getting close to the season. But since 9 weeks of age, averages out about 16 hours a week worth of training. So
that's exciting stuff.
Like I said, there's only 4 people as far as on the IFW. Again, who knows how many hunters in history or people or landowners had a dog and they would just take with them hunting and would, track for them or something like that. But there's not a lot.
So you plan on getting more dogs? Adding any more to?
If my wife will let me. Like I said, this year, all the training, the 16 hours, all the disc, because again, you would never guess, but it's very important that these dogs are very good with people, very good with family, very docile, and so a lot of training. Of training. She's like, it's having another kid. It literally, it's just like having another baby. But.
It is. My wife wanted a dog for years, and I fought it.
No kidding.
Oh yeah. I was like, well, it's a lot of work.
Yep.
And you don't know what you're going to get.
Yep.
Right. So very lucky. We got a lab, and the lab is super chill.
Yep.
And very obedient with commands. Never has to be on a leash around the house. Never strays far. She'll see deer. It's
a bold statement, but I would venture as far to say that's the best dog breed. Your labs, I believe so, as far as temperament, I was worried about the obedience, dog but they can
overly hyper and
they believe
so chill.
A lot of people don't know too. Labs were used in Vietnam as combat tracker dogs, non-combative. But they would lead the patrols out to smell for enemies. They would scent and point for enemies or for IEDs or explosives. The lab's been used in that capacity before. Golden retrievers are phenomenal, and all these dogs will blood track or blood scent.
And it just blew me away. I've never really observed. I've hunted with beagles a little bit.
Yep.
Rabbit hunting.
That's cool.
But never. Yeah, that's a lot of fun. But to watch her, like when we started working with her, the nose just blows my mind. We'd have a little dummy there that will drag.
Yeah.
Put some grouse scent on it.
Yeah.
And we'd play for hours trying to trick her, trying to mess her up.
Yeah.
And she will go balls to the wall.
Not missing.
On that and not veer. If she veers off it, it's just for a quick second.
Probably the most, in my personal experience, I can only, the 2 best partridge dogs I've ever seen were labs, one yellow, one black. And both of them were trained just recreational, family guys that like to enjoy bird hunting and just thought they'd put a little time in training it, and phenomenal. Almost, it's almost like cheating to see. They just let the dogs go in the woods and there's grouse flying everywhere.
And it saves you as a grouse hunter or deer hunter. You're going to end up losing an animal, especially grouse hunting.
Yes. Oh my goodness. Oh my, early grouse season.
Yeah.
You shoot them and they fall. It's nothing.
We had one, Rob. It's funny. Dad and I had gone up hunting, and we had Meadow at the time, but I left her home. It was just Dad and I. He shot a bird. There was a group of them. I think he shot 3 birds out of the group, and it was on the bank. So he shot the bird. It was on a log, and then he shot the other 2. And he went to pick up the first one, and he's standing there, and he sees the other 2, so he goes and grabs them. We sat there. We could not find.
Yep.
And I'm like, Dad, are you sure you? He's like, I watched it fall off the log, and I'm like, you're positive? And you're looking around there and you're going, it's got to be right here.
Yeah.
And Dad's like, it was right here on this log. He goes, it just fell over deader than. So the reason I wasn't watching is I stuck a GoPro at the window of my truck, and I just held it up over the cab of the pickup, and it was recording it. So I'm like, well, let's see if I didn't even know if I had it on video or not. I just stuck my hand willy-nilly.
You didn't catch that on the GoPro.
So we're sitting there, and a little GoPro screen, and I'm like, all right. Let's see and I got Dad in the video. He's shooting, and I see the sticks all move where he fired. So I zoomed in. You see the partridge fall over, and I'm like, right there. So we go up there, we're looking, and we cannot find this partridge. And the freaking thing, there was like they just cut in there recently. So there's all kinds of slash and stuff, and there was like some roots And somehow, when the bird fell down in between some roots, I think it was about up to my elbow. And I just reached down in there.
You just happened to reach down in there.
Well, but we had watched that so many times on that stinking GoPro.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you can see it fall over. And I thought, Meadow would have found the bird in 2 seconds.
Yeah.
And here we are, 30 minutes of like analyzing footage. And we would have never found the bird if I didn't take the video.
I'm very impressed you found it, Paul, reaching your hand down into the roots.
There was one spot there. And we're like, well, I was reached. And I'm like, he was just like, I told you, I got that bird.
So that's where I've always been stuck, watching these guys with bird dogs, labs, and they're just like, it's effortless. It's a whole different experience going out. That'll come down the road, I think. But for this dog,
so you'll bird hunt with that dog as well?
We'll see. I want to get that experience last year when we couldn't find that doe lit a fire under my rear. So between 2024 and shooting that big buck, that really ironically killed a lot of my personal drive for white. That was, I could never ask for anything more. I have 3 sons now and a wife who hunt. So venison coming into the house isn't a problem. I think that for me was just one big giant blessing. So my weird way of giving back is my sole focus is retrieval with dogs. This whole seasons, I'm just going to put towards helping people find animals with dogs. Yes, that's everything. So once he can do that, once he's locked in with that, we'll start maybe branching out, or maybe if my wife is listening, I can get a lab. But yeah, no, that's
Lacey can hook you up with a breeder.
Really? To threaten me with a good time.
Well, I'll tell you what, Meadow's temperament has been just
our first dog growing up was a black lab. Incredible. I don't have a bad story about it. My first independent dog was a half lab, half German Shepherd mix. First half of his life, he was a lab. He was incredible. The second half, he was a shepherd. Watch out. And then a little aggressive. And then, like I said, the Malamute, which I attempted to train. He any dog you can get to follow it, but he was aloof about it. You know, if there was something else that seemed a little more fun at the time, or one of the hunters seemed like they were friendly enough or cool enough, that was what he would rather do. So let me tell you, that's an embarrassing experience when you roll up and you got a 120-pound Malamute just running in circles, wants to play with everybody, and you're giving him the command, and he just like, nah, that's no. So
we hunted with some guys that were pretty serious with beagles. Yeah, they did field trials and stuff like that. And
oh wow, that's
his dogs he was pretty strict as far as they weren't pets.
Yep,
and he was very like, they had their spot outside. I think he fed them once a day.
Yep.
And he had a dog. I guess it's something, if some beagles will, they're on a rabbit. If they lose a scent, sometimes you'll get a beagle that'll go turn around and just start going backwards.
Yep.
Just like, and he was like, some people, if they catch a dog doing it,
that's the end of it. So that's, again, being selfish with blood tracking. You're kind of, I've felt spoiled with that discipline, as far as it's almost the opposite from most working dog, like hardcore, as you mentioned, where, you got your plot hounds or your bear hounds, and you got your rabbit hounds, and not so much your partridge hounds, but those, most of the time those dogs they're working dogs. That's where they come out of the kennels to hunt. With a blood tracking dog, as long as you're training and you're in stick, that's their greatest drive. You want them to be, like I said, as docile as possible, around people as much as possible. That's the breed I got, a Rhodesian Ridgeback. He's a hound, but he also has guardian capacity. So for me, the big the big thing with that is like, compared to most of your, your beagles or your plots or your coon hounds or stuff like that, they get a scent, they'll run. They'll want, obviously they're bred to do that. They're bred to get a scent and take off after it. So keeping them around a house off leash or around family is absolutely doable, but it's more work, and it can provide challenges if you work or you got to leave them alone. That breed for me specifically, with the propensity to want to stay home, want to be around people, want to be with the family, not so much random drive. Okay. That, at least, like I said, we'll have another chat after the season's over, and I'll let you, all this stuff sounds great in theory.
I wouldn't mind going with you sometime.
That's open invitation.
If you had a friend, or not necessarily say a client, where you're trying to work with your dog, it was just more of an informal friend or something that
Absolutely.
you're tracking with.
Once I make sure that he's not going to make me look like a total dunderhead,
there's nothing
Paul,
wrong with that either.
That's a beauty of it too. Is a wife can go, kids could go. Obviously, you know, stand behind, watch the whole process. But absolutely,
what an experience!
That would be cool.
You basically can extend your hunting season to just multiple hunts and sharing that with other people.
So again, I owe my dad so much thanks for accidental things. Like I didn't know help him. I can remember half of those hunts I went with him. I was like, oh, I don't want to do. Like I just got home from work. Like it's physical. Like it's every time we were a wash of sweat. Like I don't want to. But he would drag me and go do those and the recoveries. So again, working at his shop, which is in a small town, he's always been known as a sportsman.
Yeah.
Every hunting season, every year he would get calls. Can't find this deer. Can't find this. So the amount of retrievals I've unwillingly had to participate in is definitely.
I'm surprised you're still interested in it.
It was that last year's buck. It honestly didn't, our doe. It really didn't light a fire until that went on, and it was on that entire track. I said this wouldn't be a thing without a dog. It absolutely, with a dog, this would be it'd be fun. I'd have my son with me. We'd be tracking it down. We'd be making a memory and experience out of it. And it really lit a fire. And I said, if I can help even one other kid, one other person or whatnot, recover their animals, like that's genuinely the mission with it.
Yeah. What a good resource.
Yeah.
Because again, every hunter is going to come, you do it long enough, you're going to have that.
Yep.
Absolutely.
That
situation. And it's such a helpless, it's hard to articulate exactly how
I've seen a lot of people get discouraged to the point of not wanting to hunt anymore and not wanting to, and that's the other aspect of the tracking dog is if it's all done and it's done right, for the most part, there's nothing more anybody can do to prove that animal's alive as well. As if you call in that tracking dog, you do everything right, and you go through the process and either the tracker or it's evident that, look, this deer's not expired or not dead, you can go to home that night and you can rest your head well. I did everything I could to make sure that deer was harvested. And if that dog who is trained to find cadavers, find dead, expired animals, could not find this deer, and it's by a reliable source, that animal's still alive. And so that also adds another layer of...
You've basically exhausted every possible...
Yes. Because I know for me, that's always the worst part about it is the what else could I have done? What else? Like last year.
There's also people out there that probably wouldn't even look.
Correct. And it's another aspect to that as well. It's, as far as if somebody doesn't want to look, but maybe, call your tracker, let them know exactly what happened and take that last ditch effort. Like we owe it to the animals. We really do to give it everything we got. And it really is an insurance policy that doesn't disturb nature. It doesn't wreck anything else. There's not guns blazing going off in the wood. That's hard. Part of the problem with this is a stereotype with it. People often portray blood tracking and they think of, for better or for worse, a group of plots chasing a black bear through the woods or whatnot, which completely different disciplines in every single way.
Because some states you can hunt deer with dogs.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Yep.
Like I said, I just have a vision in my mind. I don't know what that really looks like, I guess, in real life. I'm pretty ignorant about it.
Well, plus where we are unable to do drives here in Maine, I guess we would all be kind of somewhat Greek to it or whatnot. But I'm sure it's an intense kind of hunting, and I'm sure it's similar to rabbits or bears. It's a matter of running them down and then baying them. And
you think there's a potential for someone knows in the back of their head, they'd be like, oh, I've got this kind of get out of jail free card. I know a guy who has a dog that can track down my deer. At risk of taking maybe a more unreliable shot or someone taking riskier shots that they normally wouldn't, because they know, if I don't make a perfect shot, I can always call Rob and he can find the
human
deer.
nature. I tend to say, human nature, we're all gonna resort to some level of comfort as long as they're honest about it. The timeline of waiting is very different based on where you shot that deer. Like that's to my father's detriment. And again, me learning, he said yes to so anybody would call him. He would just, be right there. And he would just go track to track to track. And his dog was extremely driven. So he got away with, looking back now and learning what I've learned now and just being educated through it like I have, it amazes me what he achieved with that dog just through raw drive, because it was in some area, he was just going, shot a deer, it ran off, they're calling him, and he was showing right up and hitting the trail. So I really try to take more of a analytical approach and make sure the deer's expired, make sure we're not driving it any further,
into Canada or something like that.
In Canada, which I mean, keep referring to him. His dad's deer farm is on the Canadian border.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
So that was one of his big drives for doing this, was a lot of black bear he would shoot, and even some whitetail would immediately skedaddle into those woods towards the Canadian border. Thus far, you contact a local game warden, they assist with contacting the RCMP. In all the situations, there was one last year.
Can they coordinate to get?
Yes,
Really?
absolutely.
Okay.
And last year there was one in Caswell. A gentleman, a good buddy of mine, had this exact same situation, a border town, and it hopped across the border, and they even gave him rides. They were more than accommodating for it. So they seem
That's
to be
good to hear.
Yeah.
Because again, I got a lot of deer right here.
Yep.
And I'm always, maybe the kids on youth day or something want to go shoot a deer. But I've always personally been a little hesitant, because even a well shot in the heart.
Yep.
I mean, if you're just a few bounds from Canada, and
You're
that
smart.
deer turns around that way.
You're smart. Yeah.
Like,
Sometimes you just gotta, is it worth it at that point too? Because there's a timeline with all that as well. That's the thing, is to get a hold of a warden who's busy, obviously, that time of year when people are shooting deer, to contact the RCMP, who, depending on what they have going on, go, look, I ain't got time to deal with Americans and shot deer right at this moment. But I've never witnessed that. They've always been like very helpful. They've let the guys cross. There are laws. I don't think you can bring a head back. So that's another weird one.
Okay.
Unless it's changed since then. I don't know if it was because of what is it, a brain worm or something like that, or for years there was a legality that if you bring your deers back from Canada,
even though the deer just runs across freely.
Correct. You had to take the head off.
Another one of those whole logic things you were talking about earlier. Like, let's work this out here.
Yeah, exactly.
So what you're saying is, don't shoot a monster buck and have it run to Canada.
There's one of the local restaurant owners here in town, or recent restaurant owners in town, who hunts on a border here. His wife, she had that happen. Shot an absolute monster last year. Beautiful. Really? Been waiting for it for years. One that she'd been waiting for, sitting in a blind. Everything she thought was right. Shot it. It bumped it off. I think they had a friend with a dog or somebody come in, but the timeline wasn't, so it bedded down still in the States, but when the dog, when they, or them, I don't know, that it pushed it out, it jumped up, went across the border, thus, and ended up, there wasn't a retrieval, which, there's a very good likelihood it expired or whatnot, but it's just one of those scenarios where if you got a good tracker, has got a little bit of experience, and you can work out with the hunter these timelines, because you're all, you're going off their honesty and integrity is the big thing. A lot of people, it was a great shot, I know it died. Well, the common one too is you get the spine, that few inches below the spine.
You put one right through there.
The amount, I even remember the calls before, it dropped right there. It's not 20 yards in the woods, but I don't want to push it, come on in and never recover it just because you hit that shock zone. So a lot of it is just getting those details as far as to what happened at the shot.
Want to talk about guns for a minute?
Fire away.
Anything new that you're tinkering with guns? Because you're also a gun and
boy, so it's all everything now for me is turned
shooter.
into the kids. Yeah, so again, 2024, I shot that buck, and that was really everything I wanted to do. I got an 850-yard range behind my house to shoot with and everything.
And you're a heck of a shot, and you're knowledgeable about shooting.
But it's all been about the kids. So now that they're 11 and 12, I've just focused on them and their shooting and what they enjoy, and that's really so I can talk youth guns with you.
So no new equipment for you then?
Absolutely not. No.
Still using that, was it 260?
260. Yeah. 2024, Paul locked me in. That was I've got my Grand Slam.
Well, let's recap that. You shot the biggest buck in the state in 2024, right?
Yeah, 2024. Yeah, the biggest buck in the state. So that
260.
260. Yeah, 260 and change. I don't want to butcher it, but
so the biggest buck in the state last year was shot Easton, or from a guy in Easton?
Yeah, absolute monster.
So there's something going on around here.
Yeah, and that's where I would yield to like you, or specifically your father, as far as what is going on around here, because even this year I'm seeing deer. It's been huge for the training with the puppy, because half of my tracks I'm running into deer while we're out there training tracking. I'm seeing, and again, we think, I look around and see all kinds of deer and think, oh, deer are everywhere now, but in reality I'm only, I'm confined in my little 50-mile radius of life. But it does seem like there is a ton of whitetails. I know the winters have been kind of mellow, but I
didn't see any coyotes this past winter. Have you?
No,
noticed it?
No,
because Kendall, who hunts out back here. He's got a farm that he hunts out behind me. Pretty much shoots a deer every year.
Yeah.
Usually coyote hunts.
Yeah.
And he had mentioned, because I usually can hear them wintertime just light up some nights.
Yep.
And he had mentioned that he hadn't seen much for coyotes. And I said, geez, Kendall, now that you mention it, I haven't heard it. I didn't hear a coyote all winter.
No. So even my neck of the woods, which is usually the landfill, the tri-community landfill is only a few miles from my house. So a lot of predators, scavengers, stuff like that. The past year, I haven't heard boo. I don't know what the logic or what the reason is with that. A lot of fox, bobcat, eagles, a lot of eagles, but I'm not seeing not seeing nearly the amount of coyotes that I seem to used to. Which I don't know. I don't know if hard winters equate to better coyote populations just because of the amount of the deer mortality, or it's easier for them to hunt them, or the past couple winters have been pretty mellow. So
they've been super easy.
Yeah, I won't complain about that. That's awesome.
No, I think deer season's going to be awesome.
Turkey. So I see turkey everywhere now. Like you cross the bridge and every field, there's turkey everywhere. You would think that coyotes would have a smorgasbord on turkey. Like
matter of fact, so much so, you never saw a turkey up in the big woods, right?
Never.
I'm coming down the Allagash and I hit about halfway through. And I was probably 2 miles from Churchill Dam. I walk out, I go to my campsite for that night. I'm walking along the shore. Dead turkey carcass there. Clear up there in the Allagash. I'm like,
could you tell what killed it or what?
I couldn't. It was pretty much fed off. All it was left was some feathers and the feet and the hip bones.
It only seems though you give them a couple seasons and the woods right next to my house now. This is just like a daily thing to see a dozen turkeys out walking around.
You ever turkey hunt?
I did.
Did you?
So the first 3 years, it was legal up here. I don't remember what that was, Paul. Like 20. So I got my Grand Slam in 2016. So it must have been.
I forget when it was legalized up here.
The first 3 years, it was 2015 through 2018 or 2017. Yeah. I did it religiously. I was really interested. I want to know what it was all about. It's awesome.
Did you shoot one?
Or? Yeah, I got one. And again, these were the first years they were up here. So like the first year, I think. They didn't have much fear of me whatsoever. Just walked up to the decoy right close. And then the next couple of years, conventional turkey hunting or whatnot. But for me personally, like I'm a big sustenance guy. It's all about the meat. Everything's about the meat. Like and this isn't, I love watching it. I love doing it. I think it's incredible. But it's a me problem. It's the amount of time and hours and energy put in to what you got out. And I have 5 ravenous family members. So I would go through days of watching these turkey and putting them to bed and waiting for them to come down and shoot one, typically the opening day, and go home. And there wasn't enough bird to feed 5 people. I kind of,
I can see where it's like, effort would be better spent someplace else.
So it really has to present itself to me as a somewhat effortless scenario to pop
I almost did this spring.
Yep.
There was some toms hanging out on my lawn.
Yeah.
And like the week before the season opened, every morning I'd wake up and it'd be just starting to get light. And I'd see them down there all fanned out, like 10 feet off my lawn. And I'm like, geez, should I try turkey hunting? So I'm actually, it coincides with fishing season.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, so okay. So it's always going to take second place to you.
The ice had just gone out up to the camp, opening day of turkey season. So I'm heading out. I'm like, no, I'm going to go fishing because that's what I want to do. And, I pull out of the dooryard and they're down here on the lawn, all fanned out. And I actually stopped. I took some video footage of it. I'm like, am I making the right choice? I'm going fishing. And there's 2 toms down here. Yeah. They're just asking for, I went fishing. Yeah.
No, it's weird. My 12-year-old, it's just awesome how I make a point with the kids to expose them to all form, so they can figure out their own path. And that's all he wants to turkey hunt. That's all he wants to do. He wants to go out, wants to call him down, wants to watch him. He just has a drive for turkey hunting. So that's cool. I mean, I'll help him and we'll pursue it or whatnot. But
people love it. I know there's people.
There's a whole market for that specifically. Geez, you see the guys take bow and arrow and pop their head clean off with that's incredible marksmanship.
Yeah. Bow hunting is something I've had an interest in, but again, a guy can only have so many hobbies, and it's like, can I really commit the time to learning it the way I should?
You
bow hunt, or?
I was heavily invested in it for years. I loved it, and I wasn't good at it. So that's where I'll always boil down the Maine thing. Maine is so unique, and sitting on a tree stand in even late October, early November,
Yeah.
and when you're freezing and I was watching deer 100 yards walk back and forth. And again, the cold up here, I would start it's a me thing, but I would, a compound bow, I would start getting nervous about, 80 pounds or 70 pounds of tension, and you're holding it back.
It does something to your muscles.
Well, there's that. And what if something fails on this thing? Yeah. So again, I'm an over worrier, I guess you could say in time. So I'd be up in the tree stand and sitting there, everything's frozen completely solid. And I would be so nervous that if I was going to draw this bow back and touch an arrow off, it was going to blow up or something would happen or something no, obviously with a recurve, that wouldn't be a problem, but no, but bow hunting is incredible. It is cool. I wish I was better at it. Yeah. That's the end of that.
It has its own set of challenges.
Yep. I harvested a doe and a black bear, and wounded 2 black bear, wounded a doe, shot it in the rump. And one deer I shot with a bow and arrow I spined, and it required a follow-up. And that's where I basically said,
yep,
I'm not good enough at this to be proficient or whatnot, or the amount of time it would have taken me to get good at it, I don't have to invest right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's like long-range shooting. That's its whole nother. Like, I'm totally like, that's foreign to me.
Yeah, like, and that was
my mind.
That was just part of if I wanted to get a deer growing up with the fields that I was allowed to hunt on, it was a matter of, either you hold the reticle a little bit and close one eye and you know what I mean, whistle a tune, or you
point at the treetops and pray.
Right. Once I found out that there was scopes and a mathematical way that you could do this, for me, it's like I can't imagine any other. It's almost like cheating in its own regard.
Yeah. Yeah, you guys, Keith's the same way. My father-in-law.
Yeah, he's got much nicer equipment than I do.
I don't know. You've got a nice setup. You got a custom barrel on your gun and stuff, don't you?
Yeah, but look at the thing, Paul. It looks like...
It doesn't matter. That's character, man.
Yeah. No, I'm big on that. I'm not... When I get something that works, I'm kind of an old soul.
I'm the same way.
I lock right in, and I don't have... I can't even begin to drive beyond that.
And I'm like you with my equipment. I get kind of like an old shoe.
Yep.
Like it's just like,
I'm terrible with it, Paul.
I've got a lot of memories with it.
Yep.
And it's served me well. Why,
knives, range finders,
my fly rods,
rifles. You look at my tools, and anybody would think, what a jank, but it's just it's all worked. It's worked over the years, and I have a very hard time moving on to new equipment without. But no, it has
to be really convincing.
Yep.
For me to when I was that video I did with Keith when we were hunting, he brought I don't know what brand it was. It was AR style. Was it an AR-10?
AR-10.
Yeah.
I've shot that with Keith, a DPMS.
Yeah. So there were some things about it as we were going through the woods that I was like, one that stuck out first thing.
Yeah. Analyze
that metal heat shroud. There's like a shroud on the front.
Yeah.
Every time that went through the bushes, that was ting, 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 ting.
Yep. You would think, but they're heavy. Yeah. So those are 10 pounds plus with a scope on them. Yeah, that was really heavy. And then you start lugging those through the woods, man. It stinks quick.
And I'm the type, I'm not as hung up on weight as others are, because I'm still relatively young.
Yeah.
And I'm always like, it'd be a good challenge, good workout. But yeah, anything, at the end of 10
like canoeing the Allagash for 12 days.
That's right. Yeah. So I tend to be less like worried about weight than other people. Yeah. But it does add up.
That's interesting. So that's something off of hindsight I would think you would geek right out on is that's cool.
Yeah. I tend to be, and I think it's just because I'm pig-headed.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'll carry it. 10 pounds. Sure. Well,
a lot of it too is whatever I say train with. But again, all I've ever used is varmint rifles. I didn't know that's what they were from such a young, that to me, that was a rifle. So I even have like biathlon slings, and you just get used to carrying them. So when somebody would look at me finally, and they go, geez, that's way too heavy, I would think, well, it weighs exactly what it should weigh. It just is what it is. So I think there's a dynamic of that to it. I think it is fun to nerd out on that stuff sometimes, but to some degree.
I'm also like that with like calibers.
Yeah.
Or whatever rifle cartridge, because people really get hot and bothered about.
Yep. I used to, Paul. I used to really get caught up on all that or whatnot. And then I just come, if you do what you're supposed to do with what you're supposed to be using.
Know your cartridge.
Exactly.
And you guys, like you and Keith, I mean, you guys know how your guns shoot incredibly well. Like,
Well, it's,
you know
we,
exactly
we
what-
have to for that discipline.
Yeah.
Whereas, and I'm not mean to downplay, but I mean, if you're not that this would ever happen for any reason, but if your rifle, because of, say you have a factory ammunition,
Yeah, I get away with a lot more.
and unknowingly that factory ammunition with a 20-degree swing is in a quarter-inch different than it was in the summertime when you zeroed it.
Yeah.
As long as you're within even 200 yards, nobody's going to know. It's not going to make any difference. But if you're dialing in a 5-degree crosswind at a 440-yard deer, that's ammunition, it doesn't matter if you had the best rangefinder with a $3,000 scope and all of your data is perfect. If that bullet exits the muzzle 50 feet per second slower than the ones you test, nothing matters. Now you're talking a egregiously wounded game or whatnot. So.
Yeah. And I think that's something that doesn't get talked about enough is I think we get driven in our heads these days that everything has to be like, you know, a 100-yard group, basically everything touching.
It's not real.
And it's like, well, that's kind of contextual, depending on how you hunt. Like,
you hit the nail right on the head. As somebody who spent many, many years chasing pencil groups for the sake of chasing pencil groups, it is completely unnecessary to achieve that level of for what 99% of people are out doing hunting. If you can, so you at my house for my boys, or if anybody comes over and they want to go hunting or they want to do shooting, I use the pie plate test. If you can take a pie plate and you can now you shouldn't take 30 minutes to get all set up in the right situation, but if you can go out to 100 yards resting or whatever and put 3 or 4 rounds in that pie plate, you can harvest animals. Like there's because what does it mean when you take the most unbelievable accurate rifle in the world? Human error comes into play. You can't, you can practice, but it just doesn't matter. I've seen far too many times when an extremely accurate rifle missed or wounded an animal, when somebody with a rifle that's substantially less accurate never has an issue, just because they know their equipment, they know their range, they know their human range for failure. I guess that's the most important thing to know, is push yourself to the point of when you know you're going to fail. And then in hunting, I like to halve it, cut it in half, just so I know, you know what I mean? You're
you
not
guys do some amazing stuff. Was it Keith that with that AR? Didn't
Keith
he hit
with that AR at 805 yards? I ranged it that day, and Paul, I'll never forget, because just as somebody who's shot thousands and thousands and thousands, and I've seen lots of people come out and waste a lot of money, you know, just missing shots, and I'm just encouraging them as they're going, hey, you know, you almost got it. You can try my rifle if you want, or, you know, and most of the time, Keith was, I think he brought out his 300 Ultra Mag, which that spun the target about 6 times at 800 yards. And then he pulled that, I'm assuming that same DPMS out of the truck, and I just said, oh, okay. And it didn't have, like, you know, not turrets you could dial. It just had the dots in the reticle or whatnot. And I want to say it was the first or second shot. And it was when I said, how are you holding? He goes, well, I just kind of held 10 or 11 plates high and then like 3 over to the left. I said, dude, that's the math. The math.
Little Kentucky windage or whatever they call it.
The amount of math you just overcame with sheer willpower. I think out of all my long range shooting and with people, that was one of the most, like, really? Just kind of turned and said, I'd just hang your hat up on that one and
walk away while you're ahead.
That was awesome. No, Keith's a very good shot.
Yeah, that's fun stuff. Yep. Any other stories to share? Or?
Nothing.
We've done a lot of talking this afternoon, Rob.
Nothing radio worthy.
You got here at 10 and it's 1:19.
Is it really?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, man.
No.
I'm sorry.
No, my God.
I didn't mean to eat up your day,
no,
Paul.
I've got nothing planned. So if hunters want to find a licensed tracker,
IFW.
We covered it, but
yep, IFW is the way to go. It's listed there, or United Blood Trackers, UBT. That's nationwide as well. That has, you know.
And what information should they have for you when they call you?
Be honest. That's it. There's nothing they can say that's going to make me sigh or make me discouraged. Yeah. It's my life's mission. They can find that deer. But just be honest. Be honest about the shot. And with that in mind, keeping in mind now that they have that as a resource, try to pay attention when you're going. Not that everybody doesn't, but you know what it's like, Paul, especially. You touch it off. A lot of these high recoiling cartridges, stuff like that, the scope jumps up. By the time you refocus your sight, all you see is an animal running off. Details matter. The more details you can come up with, the better chance. Every detail makes a better chance for recovery because they can go more into that discussion as far as the timetable. Like that's the most critical thing is establishing that timetable so that deer can rest. Or like I said, most people, being honest, are going to go look themselves.
Yeah.
And when they run out of blood is when they're going to call a tracker. The most important thing there, use some kind of biodegradable marking tape or something like that. Mark off where you got lost blood because that's a great spot for the dog to start off on.
All right.
Yep.
Yeah, marking that spot. You would think someone would, cognitively, it sounds simple, like where you fired at the deer. But man, in the heat of the moment, if you don't, especially a longer range shot, like when you fire, and if you can't find a landmark to say that deer was standing right there, you walk down there, it looks totally different.
Yep.
Like there's been a lot of times I've had to walk back to where I was standing.
Absolutely.
And be like, all right, yeah, that was the tree right there.
Yes. I've even made a point now there. After every shot I take, well, some of them are longer range, I take a picture with my phone at my firing position at that, so I can at least start putting things together because as you said, things look way different when you walk down there. Even if you see a deer run and it runs into the brush, the way it looks where you're sitting at the firing position is going to be totally different than when you walk down there. And it doesn't take long, especially with a lot of deer traffic. Well, was it here or was it there or was it?
I can just think of so many circumstances where like I've gone back, a lot of stuff happens real fast and you're like, I want to go find my cartridges because I want to save them. Remember, forever, I'm like, where the heck was I standing here? Where the heck was I?
Yep.
Like I was right by a stump. Where did it go?
Easily done when your adrenaline gets pumping. It's weird how things work like that.
Things just all kind of.
Yep.
So yeah, awesome, Rob. Yeah, exciting to hear how things turn out. And I'd like to, if you have a situation where someone can tag along, I'd love to.
I would look forward to that, Paul. I will most certainly. Like I said, first things first, and I'm pre-disclosing. I don't want to lead any. This is a first-year pup, so that's always you're always going into that. And once he gets into a rhythm, usually halfway through bear season, we'll get rocking and rolling. But I would love that. And thank you for the opportunity.
No,
come in here and talk, man. This is incredible. No, I believe in this program. I believe in what you're doing. This is good stuff.
Talk for hours. I should have had the cameras on for the other 3 hours.
Be careful, man. You say that, but yeah. Yep.
Well, good deal.
Yep.
We'll leave her there.
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
I guess till next time, get outside. It's good for the soul. See ya.